Hey there guys, Nordic Warrior here, welcome back to my movie review series. So last night I went to the cinema for the first time since I saw Sonic 3 not too long ago. And I figured, you know what, since I don't have any more videos planned for the rest of the week, since I'm gonna be busy with other things, I may as well go ahead and review the movie I saw. The movie we went to see was named Flight Risk, starring Mark Wahlberg. So going in, I didn't know a whole lot about this movie, although I did see a short trailer for it last year, and saw that it was basically your typical low-budget thriller, with almost the entire film being set on a plane, with only a handful of actors. These kinds of movies come out from time to time, and they're generally quite disposable. They tend to be short, somewhat generic, and straight to the point, and don't have any serious lasting impact or anything like that, but they're really tense and thrilling the whole way through. And sometimes that's all you want from a film, just a short thrill ride with some decent action scenes and tense moments. And me personally, I always tend to enjoy these kinds of movies. I find them to be just harmless fun, if nothing else. What really confused me about this movie though, and what really caught my eye about it when I saw the trailer, and why I really wanted to see it, is that it was directed by Mel Gibson. Now, to me, that's really unusual, since when Mel Gibson directs a movie, it's usually some kind of event, right? His movies are usually big budget, over-the-top blockbusters that are usually very meta in the way they come across. They usually have some extremely deep themes and meta-analysis, and they tend to always have some kind of point to them, and always have some sort of insanely emotional impact by the end. Think of movies like Braveheart, Hacksaw Ridge, Apocalypto, and of course The Passion of the Christ. These are massive films that made quite a big cultural impact and got a lot of people talking about them, and you wouldn't expect a movie directed by Mel Gibson to be anything resembling generic or disposable. So that made me really curious about this movie, and it's the first movie in a long time that I've actually been intrigued to go and watch. So I went and saw the movie last night, and it's pretty much what I expected after seeing the trailer. To quickly sum up the plot, a federal agent chick is out in the wilderness of Alaska, hunting for a fugitive. She finds him right away, that's how the movie opens, and you find out very early on in the movie that the fugitive is an accountant who used to be employed by a powerful and well-connected mafia boss with government connections. And the reason why the feds are after him is to use him as a witness to testify against his boss in court. And obviously he's on the run, so the mob doesn't find him, and so the feds don't find him and get him involved, and yeah, that all goes tits up. She finds him, arrests him, and attempts to take him back to America. The agency she works for hires a local bush pilot, who is played by Mark Wahlberg, fly them back to the States, since I guess the US government doesn't have their own private planes or something. I don't know, just go with it. And as anyone who saw the trailer already knows, the pilot is actually a hitman working for the mob who is in disguise. One thing leads to another, and the agent and the witness have to battle for survival and all that good stuff. That's basically the plot, and a lot of the government conspiracy stuff and all that other stuff that ties the plot together, it all happens off screen, as it often does with these kinds of movies. So you get a small plane that's basically the movie set, and three main characters who all bounce off one another, you know the deal. And yeah, I liked this movie for the most part, and actually had quite a lot of fun watching it. Again, it's relatively disposable. It's not a movie that I'm necessarily in a rush to see again, but I enjoyed it for what it was. What I will say though, is that the movie is quite tonally awkward. I mean, the first half hour or so is a flat out comedy. I'm not joking. The witness is played by the guy who played Venom in Spider-Man 3, yeah, that guy. And he basically chews scenery the whole first half. Every scene he's in, and every time he opens his mouth, he's just cracking jokes and one-liners. And he's supposed to be the comic relief of the film. And it's weird because as the movie goes on, and Mark Wahlberg gets involved, the tone gets darker and darker, and more serious, without giving too much away. And he basically gets forced to have a change of heart, and reflect on his life and choices and stuff like that. Wahlberg is the villain of the movie, of course, and he's absolutely unhinged in this film. His performance kind of reminded me of his performance in that movie Fear from the 90s. He played a bad guy in that film too, and he was an absolute psycho. He's a lot like that here. A lot of his scenes in this film, he's tied up and covered in blood, making threats and weird facial expressions, laughing and talking about all the sick, twisted stuff he's gonna do to the other characters. He's kind of like the Joker in that sense, and you can tell he's just having a blast with the film, and his dialogue is pretty funny too, in a sick sense of humour kind of way. And I suppose it needed to be like that, because Mark Wahlberg, and I've talked about this before when I've reviewed his movies, he's one of these actors where I just cannot take him seriously. If he's trying to play a serious role, there's something about Mark Wahlberg where he's just always funny. Like, everything the guy does just comes across as humorous, even when he's trying to be serious. And if you give him a role like this, where he's like a demented psycho, but one who makes one-liners and is quite quick-witted and stuff like that, I think that kind of role really suits him. The movie has a few short, brutal action scenes where the protagonists of course have plot armor, so you know they're going to be fine, at least until the end. And again, it's the kind of film where it has a whole bunch of cliches and stuff like that you've seen in many of these kinds of movies, and it is what it is. Like a lot of these movies, it ends kind of out of nowhere, and it's a bit anticlimactic. I mean, Wahlberg is built up the whole movie as this cold, calculated assassin who's also a complete sociopath who likes to kill people slowly. There's actually a scene in the movie, which is similar to that scene in The Dark Knight where Joker's talking about how he prefers to use knives instead of guns because he just enjoys it. And yeah, there's a scene like that here. Wahlberg's supposed to be intimidating, and he plays the role well enough. The chick who plays the Fed in the movie, I've completely forgotten her name. I don't know who that actress is, but her face does look familiar. She's kind of the protagonist of the film, and she does a decent enough job. I didn't really mind her character. You know, again, she's kind of the serious one, the one who's trying to get her job done, the one who has kind of a tortured past, and she has flashbacks and stuff like that, and she's kind of trying to make amends for what she's done in the past, and you know the deal. She's your typical generic action thriller protagonist. It is what it is. And a lot of the movie, again, is her speaking over the radio, trying to get somebody to help her fly the plane because she doesn't know how to fly a plane. And the only guy on board that does is Mark Wahlberg. And of course, he's a bad guy, and he has no intention of helping them fly the plane and stuff like that. And it's just one of them movies. You kind of just got to take it for what it is. As far as all the stunts and special effects and stuff like that, it's all done pretty well. I mean, it's a good looking movie, despite being relatively low budget. It doesn't look cheap, like it definitely looks like a movie they put a lot of time and effort into. But the problem is, it's just kind of, like I said, it's disposable. And it's just really, really weird to me that a director like Mel Gibson, and don't get me wrong, Mel Gibson has starred in a lot of slop, right? He's been in a lot of these direct-to-DVD, like really cheaply made action films, but he's never directed a film like that. So I just found it really weird and bizarre to see a movie like this with him as the director. And I'm struggling to think of what meta-analysis you can find from this movie, or what moral meaning it had behind it, or anything like that, because there didn't really seem to be anything. I mean, most of the dialogue in the movie was just flat out dark humour. You know, there was lots of F-bombs, and that's another thing I've noticed too. A lot of modern movies nowadays use so much profanity that it's just tedious, if truth be told. Like, in the past, when a movie was R-rated, characters would use profanity, but they would use it sparingly. They would use it to emphasize things and to make an impact. But nowadays, it's like every other line of dialogue in an R-rated movie, characters have just got to say the F word constantly, and Mark Wahlberg never stops using it in this movie. Like, he's so foul-mouthed. And that's just something I've noticed about modern films, so it's a bit of a tangent there. But yeah, it's such a weird, competently made, yet tonally awkward film that for whatever reason I really enjoyed. Again, I've got kind of a soft spot for these kinds of films. Again, most of it takes place on a plane. There's only 3 main characters. And it's all really going to depend on what your personal taste is in regards to movies. Do you like a nice, short, tense thrill ride? Or do you prefer something with a bit more substance? You know, it really depends on your own personal views. I like the movie. Don't really have a whole lot else to say about it. It's a short film. You know, you can probably do worse if you're gonna go see a movie nowadays. If you like popcorn, I would recommend seeing this over anything else. I enjoyed it more than Sonic 3, which isn't really saying much. I give this movie a 6 out of 10. It's alright, you know. I've never seen a Mel Gibson movie that I didn't like. I've never seen a Mel Gibson movie that wasn't well made and authentic looking and stuff like that. So I think that the movie was well directed, well paced, well acted. It's just bizarre though. Like, I just can't get my head around it. That almost makes me like it a little bit more. It's like Mark Wahlberg and Mel Gibson got together and were like, you know what? We've not made a movie together in a while. Let's make one. Okay, we'll come up with a script. We've got an hour. Let's make a movie where 3 people are on a plane and the guy who knows how to fly the plane is a psycho and he wants to kill the other 2. You know, we'll come up with a backstory, a plot. We've got till this afternoon, and then we'll go into production tomorrow morning. That's literally what I was thinking while I was watching this movie. It's like this movie, it's like it literally just came out of nowhere. It's like Mel Gibson was just like, I want to make a film. What film will take half an hour to write a script for? And can go into production immediately. You know, for, I don't know if it was a tax write-off or something like that, but whatever, I enjoyed it. A fun little thrill ride. If you want to go see a movie, you can do a lot worse than this. I give it a 6 out of 10, maybe a little bit generous. But yeah, is what it is. Let me know if you want to see me do more movie reviews. I've got more retrospectives coming to the channel pretty soon. I've just been busy with work and with studying and things like that, so yeah, leave me some comments, hit the like button, you know the deal. Thanks for watching and God bless.